minutes past 9. I welcome you to another exciting edition of From the Newspaper this morning, streaming live from the premises of the Aces Hotel, IBADAN. Good morning to you all. We are listening to MFM Radio and TV. This is MFM Radio and TV 97.3, where we set the agenda and project the truth. And don't forget, this program is in form of 3 segments. The first segment is the weather forecast report of 3 major cities in Nigeria: the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, the commercial city of Lagos, and the vibrant city of Ibadan. Where the second segment on the show is the headlines, make a round of Nigerian newspaper. And as usual, always bring 4 newspapers to you every morning: the Punch newspaper, the Vanguard newspaper, the Guardian newspaper, and the Nigerian Tribune. Where the last segment of the show is the details to the headlines. My name is SHAQEEROH AKINYEMI. To the first segment on the show this morning, which is the weather forecast report. On the first city is the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. At 10 a.m. in Abuja this morning is mostly sunny with 28 degrees Celsius. At 11 a.m. is mostly sunny with 30 degrees Celsius. At 12 p.m. is mostly sunny with 31 degrees Celsius. At 1 p.m. is mostly sunny with 33 degrees Celsius. At 2 p.m. is mostly sunny with 34 degrees Celsius. At 3 p.m. is mostly sunny with 35 degrees Celsius. At 4 p.m. is partly sunny with 35 degrees Celsius. At 5 p.m. is mostly sunny with 34 degrees Celsius. At 4 p.m. is mostly sunny with 33 degrees Celsius. At 7 p.m. is mostly clear with 31 degrees Celsius. At 8 p.m. is mostly clear with 30 degrees Celsius. At 9 p.m. is mostly clear with 29 degrees Celsius. And upon 10 p.m. is clear with 28 degrees Celsius. At 11 p.m. is clear with 27 degrees Celsius. At 10 a.m. in the commercial city of Lagos this morning is mostly sunny with 31 degrees Celsius. At 11 a.m. is intermittent cloud with 32 degrees Celsius. At 12 p.m. is mostly sunny with 32 degrees Celsius. At 12 p.m. is mostly sunny with 32 degrees Celsius. At 1 p.m. is mostly sunny with 33 degrees Celsius. At 2 p.m. is partly sunny with 32 degrees Celsius. At 3 p.m. is intermittent cloud with 32 degrees Celsius. At 4 p.m. is mostly cloudy with 32 degrees Celsius. And at 5 p.m. is mostly cloudy with 31 degrees Celsius. At 6 p.m. is intermittent cloud with 30 degrees Celsius. At 7 p.m. is intermittent cloud with 30 degrees Celsius. And at 8 p.m. is intermittent cloud with 29 degrees Celsius. At 9 p.m. is partly cloudy with 29 degrees Celsius. At 10 p.m. is partly cloudy with 29 degrees Celsius. And at 11 p.m. is partly cloudy with 29 degrees Celsius. At 10 a.m. in the vibrant city of Ibadan this morning, it's partly sunny with 29 degrees Celsius. At 11 a.m. it's partly sunny with 31 degrees Celsius. At 12 p.m. it's partly sunny with 33 degrees Celsius. At 1 p.m. it's mostly sunny with 34 degrees Celsius. At 2 p.m. it's mostly sunny with 35 degrees Celsius. At 3 p.m. it's partly sunny with 36 degrees Celsius. At 4 p.m. it's mostly cloudy with 35 degrees Celsius. At 5 p.m. is partly sunny with 34 degrees Celsius. At 6 p.m. is mostly sunny with 32 degrees Celsius. At 7 p.m. is mostly clear with 30 degrees Celsius. At 8 p.m. is mostly clear with 29 degrees Celsius. At 9 p.m. is clear with 27 degrees Celsius. And at 10 p.m. is clear with 27 degrees Celsius. At 11 p.m. is clear with 26 degrees Celsius. the second segment on the show, which is the headlines of Nigerian newspaper. And the first newspaper we're bringing on is the Punch newspaper. The latest story on the Punch newspaper this morning says, federal government will inject 1,900 megawatt solar power into grid, and page 2 has the details to that story. To the story that says government sets 8,000 megawatt power goal by 2027, taps private sector for grid expansion, and page 2 has the details to that story. Above the line of Punch newspaper this morning says El-Rufai deserve fair treatment after supporting Tinubu, says Buhari ex-minister Shitu, and page 7 has the analysis to that story. Another story on Punch newspaper this morning says Tinubu working remotely overseas, return after Easter, states presidency, and page 28 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
And page 19 has the details to that story. Fuel pricey despite crude oil crash, says S&P Global, and page 24 has the details to that story. Natasha urged police to restore security as gunmen raid home, and page 28 has the details to that story. Emergency, River Administrator wants mischief makers, and page 29 has the details to that story. Adeleke Makinde meets over Oyo-Osun border tensions, and page 13 has the details to that story. Another story on the Punch newspaper says, murder trial, I found a tiger in pool of blood, says Chidima, and page 4 and 5 has the analysis to that story.
Audio Jungle.
The last story on the Punch newspaper says, Gani Adams order rejects Southwest Sharia panels, and page 10 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
And the latest story on the Vanguard newspaper. Federal government will clear 2 trillion naira or 4 trillion naira Gen Schools debts, and page 9 has the details to that story. Vanguard newspaper, another story says, NBA slams River administrator over her alleged disregard for rule of law, and page 12 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Tinubu will return to Abuja after Easter holiday, says presidency, and page 9 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
And the last story on the Vanguard newspaper this morning says, Malamitu Alimakura groups. You can't speak for CPC block, and page 8 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
So moving on to the third newspaper, which is the Guardian newspaper, and the latest story on the Guardian newspaper says, schools, teachers cite concerns, search for academic integrity, and page 4 and 5 are the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Benue killings, attacks are planned, not random occurrence, says David Mark, and page 27 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Rep alleges security operative knows Plateau killers, and page 3 has the details to that story. Over 1.9 million students to sit for Nigeria's fall digital WASE, and page 27 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Reps caution against fraudsters as security denies registering civics, and page 7 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Another story says, Unwoye dumps APC, city's lack of rule of law, justice, and page 28 have the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Presidency replies Atiku Obi says Tinubu remains at work overseas, and page 6 are the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Tension persists in Rivers as Tinubu emergency rule clock 1 month, and page 6 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Investor confidence in oil, gas sector tied to reform execution, says Survey France, and page 29 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
So moving on to the last newspaper on the second segment this morning, which is the Nigerian Tribune, and the latest story on Nigerian Tribune says, Presidency defends Tinubu foreign stay, aimed criticism over insecurity, and page 3 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
president now in London, and page 3 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Another story says CBEX illegal unlicensed digital assets exchange seeks security, and there is one writer to the story that says reps call for urgent crackdown on perpetration of fraud, and page 6 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Power sector got 700 billion naira. The first rider says sixth generation capacity has hit 600 megawatts. Another rider says federal government to pay 2 trillion naira Genschools debt by the year, and page 6 has details to that story. Nigeria Economic Recovery Report says LCC high, and page 8 has the details to that story. Eastern Rail Line may be ready before 2027, says NRC MD, and page 10 has the details to that story. Audio Jungle.
Military deactivates 42 illegal refineries. Announced 42 oil thieves, and page 26 has the details to that story. Begins 2025 May to June exam with 1.97 million candidates, and page 4 has the details to that story. Government attack Natasha's family house in Kogi, and page 10 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
And there is one reader to the story that says investigation has begun, says police, and page 10 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
And the last story on Nigerian Tribune this morning says cancer tribute.
Audio Jungle.
So we have come to the end of the second segment this morning. Before we divert into the last segment, let's go on the break. Stay tuned, I'll be right back.
ọ̀rẹ́ mi gbà mí gbogbo àwọn ọ̀lẹ̀kùn ilé mi ló ti dógùn, kódà gbogbo àwọn táìsì tí ń bẹ nílé mi kò lówó lójúmọ́.
Ibo ló ti rà á?
ṣé bí lọ́dọ̀ àwọn kan tí ń tà lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ ọ̀nà.
O ti sanwó gbowó. Ṣé o ti gbọ́n pa ilé ìtajà Stardust Homes Wear Enterprise? Ó kù nígbà rọ̀gùdù. Eléyìí tó dojúkọ ilé ìfowópamọ́ Keystone Bank agbègbè Àbáyọ̀mí Ìwó Road nílẹ̀ Ìbàdàn. Báwo lẹ ṣe fẹ́ sí àwọn ilẹ̀kùn ayẹta, àwọn táìsì tí ó gbohun iyì àti ẹwà bá ilé, àwọn àgbá omi lọ́lọ́kan òjọ̀kan, moving sheet eléyìí tí ó gbé àwòrán ilé jáde àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Gbogbo rẹ̀ ló wà lójú kan náà lọ́dọ̀ Stardust Homes Wear Enterprise fún gbogbo kọ́lékọ́lé àti àgbálẹ́kọ́. Gbogbo àwọn ohun èlò ilé eléyìí tí ó sọ ilé rẹ di àwòdámi ẹnu ọ̀dọ̀ Stardust Homes Wear Enterprise ní oyè àkàsí. Ẹ pè pè sórí ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 0708-760-5119 lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí 0708-760-5119. Tadams Homes Wear Enterprise fún ojúlówó àwọn èròjà ilé tó ní òun wò lójú.
FM fún ìdálárayá, ètò àsìkò, ìkọ́nilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ìgbà gbogbo. FM ní kẹ́ ẹ máa gbọ́, ẹ má gbé kúrò níbẹ̀ nígbà gbogbo. Ẹni tó bá ríjó tí ò jó, ẹni tó bá ráyọ̀ tí ò yọ̀, ọjọ́ tí ò pẹ́ ni ó sunra rẹ̀ láwọ̀ ara. FM ló ní kẹ́ ẹ ríjó kẹ́ ẹ jó, kẹ́ ẹ ráyọ̀ kẹ́ ẹ sì máa yọ̀. FM ni ẹ máa gbọ́, ni ẹ máa wò nígbà gbogbo.
Ìgbà tó tó bá ní í ṣe baálé ọba gbọ́migbọ́mi, kọ̀ǹkọ̀ tó tó kọ̀ǹkọ̀ ní í ṣe ọba wọn lálẹ́ odò. Bó jẹ́ tìròyìn tó kojú owó, orin tó dùn ún gbọ́ létí, àṣà, ẹ̀fẹ̀ àtàwọn ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣítí lọ́lọ́kanjọ̀kan. Ìkànnì AM/FM rédíò ọba ló jẹ́ láwùjọ rédíò.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, so welcome back to the show. It's still from the newspaper. Don't forget you can watch us live on Facebook at MFM Radio and TV. And as you're watching us, do well to like, comment, and share. We are now in the last segment on the show this morning, which is the details to the headlines. And the first story I'm bringing on this morning says, Tinubu's working remotely from overseas return after Easter, says presidency. The presidency has said Bola Ahmed Tinubu continues to direct affairs of the state from Europe, despite being outside pattern of working visit. The president has undertaken since assuming office nearly 2 years ago. Tinubu's statement was ostensibly in the response to criticism by the opposition, who questioned Tinubu's stay in abroad while the country was bleeding from killings, particularly in Plateau and Borno State. The concerns were raised by the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and the 2023 presidential candidate election of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, who questioned Tinubu's absence while the country grapples with the heightened insecurity. And the details of the news is on Punch newspaper. Urges police to restore security as government raid home. Suspended senator representing Kogi State, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, on Thursday raised the alarm over an attack by the suspected gunmen on a family home in Kogi State. She called on the Inspector General of Police to reinstate and withdraw security agency. In a statement released by the media office, Akpoti-Uduaghan said the attack occurred during a visit by her younger brother, who was in town with the contractor in the aspect of constituency project site in her hometown for Obiba, Iham, its action before the interplanetary union, insisting her to the connection of the sexual harassment allegation against Akpabio. Supporting the Senate stance, chairperson of the House Committee, Women Affairs and Social Development, Kafilat Odara, stated that Akpoti-Uduaghan was suspended for gross misconduct and repeated violation legislative rule, including of refusing to sit and understated, speaking of the tone of displaying unruly behavior. In a further twist, Akpoti-Uduaghan Senate President Akpabio and former Kogi State Governor Yaya Bello have all filed petition with the police, accusing one another of involvement in an alleged, a claim both men strongly denied, in terms of petitioning the police to arrest and deserves fair treatment after supporting Tinubu, says Buhari ex-minister Shitu. All Progressive Conference shift towns are place. Anytime is going there for a meeting. And details of the news is on Punch newspaper. EFCC Chair Bags Award for promoting justice transparency. The Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, Ola Olukuyede, has been honored with his prestigious Courage in Justice and Transparency award by the Nigerian human rights community. According to a statement released on Friday by its X page, the award was presented on Wednesday, April 16, 2025, at a ceremony held at the Port Harcourt Hotel in Lagos. The event was attended by the top servants, civil society leaders, and stakeholders in governance and justice. Olukuyede, who was represented by the Chief of Staff to the Commission Commander of the EFCC, Sihi Michael Nzikwe, emphasized the collective duty
of the Nigeria in the fight against corruption. Describing the recognition of both humbling and motivating, Olukoyede raised the need for the integrity within the Commission and the broader justice system. Olukoyede dedicated the awards to the staff of the Commission, appreciating their dedication and hard work. He also thanked the Nigerian human rights community and the Greens People Environment Network for the honor. Reaffirming that the Commission commitment, Olukoyede added the EFCC remains committed to upholding the mandate and strengthening Nigeria's anti-corruption fight, inspiring by recognition such as that farms its enduring efforts, and details of the news is on Punch newspaper.
Audio Jungle.
Federal government will inject 1,900 megawatts solar power into grid. The federal government has revealed a plan to construct a modular solar power plant with a combined capacity of 1,900 megawatts for 19 northern states as a part of efforts to boost renewable energy adoption and expand the national grid. It also disclosed its target to generate and distribute about 8,000 megawatts of electricity before the end of the President Bola Tinubu's first term in office in 2027. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, announced this during the 6th edition of 2025 Material Press Briefing Series held on Thursday in Abuja. Adelabu said each solar power station will produce approximately 100 megawatts of electricity, enabling states to become more energy independent and reducing resilience to the national grid. He also stated that the government is pushing private investment to help expand the grid and improve generation. The point recalled that the northern region recently faced challenge with a stable power supply due to a surge of vandalism and theft of the critical transmission infrastructure. Last October, vandals destroyed the import 300 kg Shirvil-Kaduna power line that supplies the states of Kano and Kaduna, and another line that supplies Bauchi, Gombe, and other parts of the northerns. The incident leads to the month-long blackout in 17 out of 19 northern states in the country. Following the repairs, the governor of the 19 northern states called for the diversification of energy to ensure improved electricity supply. The states include Niger and Kwara, Kaduna, Kano, Jigawa, Gombe, Katsina, others Sokoto, Zamfara, Bauchi, Yobe, Borno, Adamawa, Taraba, Niger, Plateau, Nasarawa, Kogi, and Benue. But speaking at the event to update the public and highlight achievements recorded so far, the minister emphasized that with Nigeria's abundant sunshine, there is no reason for the country cannot achieve utility-scale solar power generation. Continuing, Adelabu described the 8,000 megawatt target to realistic, noting that power generation has already improved by about 40% since the current administration took office. He said average daily generation rose from 4,100 megawatts in third quarter 2023 to 5,700 megawatts in the last quarter of 2025, peaking at 5,800 megawatts. He highlighted that while it took Nigeria nearly 40 years, from 1984 to 2022, to grow from 2,000 megawatts to 4,000 megawatts, the current administration added 1,700 megawatts in just over a year. Adelabu criticized the recent progress of President Tinubu's support and expressed confidence that if the current momentum continues, the country could reach 8,000 megawatts by 2027. The minister further observed the request for funds, stressing that given the competition of funding among various ministries and agencies, the government is looking for a private sector to secure financing for the construction of new transmission lines, substantiation of the installation of additional transformers, and the details of the news is on Punch newspaper.
Audio Jungle. Audio
brothers drowned in abandoned Nasarawa mining sites. Two younger siblings, including Umar Mohammed, 7, and Ibrahim Mohammed, 9, have drowned in an abandoned excavation of site operating by AKINYEMI Mining Company Limited, a Chinese firm. The tragic incident occurred on Thursday at Ogedi Magwe community in Nasarawa local government area of the state. The site, commonly referred to as paddock, was filled with the water due to recent heavy rainfall, setting a deadly trap for the unsuspecting children. The chairman of Afro Youth Mobility, Dauda Kana, said in a statement on Thursday that the tragedy occurred on Thursday when the boy followed their cousin, who had gone to the site to wash clothes. Kana expressed deep sorrow over the incident, blaming AKINYEMI Mining Company for failing to reclaim 50-meter setback after years of excavation in the area, noting that the company negligence directly contributed, but the unsafe condition was resolved. Subsequently, the parties reached an out-of-court settlement, resulting in a consent judgment granted on March 4, 2025. Judgments include legal binding terms such as submission as detailed reclamation plan for the 50-meter setback within 1 year of further excavation, and the details of the news is on Punch newspaper. Inspector General ordered tight security deployment of personnel to churches. As Christians in Nigeria join other hands of the world to mark 2025 Easter celebration, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has ordered a tight security measures across the country to ensure a peaceful, inch-free holiday. In a statement on Friday by the First Republic Relations Officer, ACP Olumoyiwa Adejobi, the IGP extended warm Easter greeting to the Christian faithfully, urging them to reflect on the values of hope, renewal, and sacrifice which the season represents. Egbetokun directed all commissioners of police and supervising agents, Inspector General of Police, of 2035 visibility policing intelligence, gathering the extended surveillance in their jurisdiction. He said he also directs the strategic development, the personal churches, recreational centers, highway, and other public places to foster any security branch. Causes traffic jam on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. An early morning incident involving multiple vehicles occurring on Friday at the Kwara Bridge inward Opik alongside Lagos-Ibadan Expressway due to significant traffic congestion stretching back to the Otedola Bridge area. According to a post by the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority via its official handle at Follow Eastern 7:40 a.m., the incident has attracted the attention of emergency responder, including last man personnel who swiftly arrived at the scene. According to the post, the severity of the crash, although not immediately detailed, was enough impact of traffic flow is significantly causing delay and long queue for the motorists heading toward Lagos. The Traffic Management Authority appealed to claim the cooperation from the road users navigating an affected axis, and the details of the news is on Punch newspaper. Stepfather impregnates stepdaughter 3 times, resulting in abortion, says police. An Ikeja sexual offences of domestic violence court on Thursday had how her father, Adewumi Ajayi, allegedly has unlawful sexual intercourse with his undergraduate stepdaughter. The unlawful sexual assault resulted in multiple pregnancies and abortions. An investigating police officer, Aderinso Fuluke, made this known yesterday while giving evidence before Justice Abiola Soladoye. The IPO with a